The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, delivered an alarming pro-censorship proclamation at the annual Davos World Economic Forum. She expressed her concern that misinformation and polarization in societies pose a serious threat to the international business community, by which she means the wealthy industrialists who are members of the WEF. For the global business community, the top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate, she said in her speech to the elites. She argued that the bigger problem is disinformation and misinformation, followed closely by polarization within our societies. In her exhortation, von der Leyen said there needs to be partnerships formed between governments and the private sector to curb disinformation.
This is a time to build trust. This is a time to drive global collaboration more than ever before. Many of the solutions lie not only in countries working together, but crucially on businesses and governments, business and democracies working together. While governments hold many of the levers to deal with the great challenges of our time, business have the innovation, the technology, the talents to deliver the solutions we need, to fight threats like climate change or industrial-scale disinformation. Industrial-scale disinformation. Industrial-scale disinformation.
Leyen suggested it was especially important as 2024 will be the biggest electoral year in history, which means they need to act fast to promote their narrative while attempting to silence people like, well, me, in order to put or keep in power their controlled government puppets around the world. Von der Leyen's sentiments were echoed by Naomi Oreskes, professor of the history of science at Harvard University. Once again, I've taken the liberty of translating the doublespeak.
If you have leaders who play, how do I frame that? Who play quite, who have a loose notion of facts and maybe also the truth. President Trump, it's been well written about. He had over 30,000 false or misleading claims in his 4 years as a president. If that comes from the top, is that part of the issue and the problem as well, Naomi?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ordinary people are getting a lot of disinformation in social media, much of which is coming from private sector interests, but then it gets amplified when it gets reposted and resent. I'm glad we're here talking about this at the World Economic Forum, because I think the business community has a big role to play in challenging this. Because one of the things we've seen in the United States is we have a small sector of what I'll call bad actor private sector agents, and we know who they are, who are responsible for the vast majority of disinformation. And so I think the private sector has largely stood by and allowed a lot of really damaging things to happen, things that in the long run will not be good for liberal democratic capitalism. And so I really hope that the World Economic Forum will take this issue on board and think harder about the role that the private sector can play in standing up against disinformation.
Klaus Schwab's pet attack dog, Yuval Harari, often gloats that global power elites will have no more use for humans as they increasingly become replaced by artificial intelligence-driven machines. But even he seems to understand that the globalists are losing.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again shortly?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order.